That's something that I haven't been very forthcoming with because I'm scared. I'm actually very scared to share all of this with you, believe it or not. All right, Jeff's been asking for this video since basically before I even started daily vlogging again. So this one's for Jeff. Okie dokie. The M&Ms schedule video is one that hasn't even been seen 1,000 times. It's vlog-a-day 450 from frickin' 6 years ago. And it was my attempt to kind of lay out my schedule in the same way that Casey Neistat did when he did with sauce packets, I think. I don't remember. But, you know, I was inspired and really just needed to make a quick video, I think, that day because I'm sure it was a long and brutal day. And I significantly oversimplified my schedule, which I'm about to do right now. But then I'm going to explain to you how it's oversimplified, how I might not have told the full truth last time, and how things have changed for the very, very much better this time. While my life is definitely less crazy than it used to be, the goal is to get it to be both crazier and less crazy at the same time, which I'm going to try and explain after I do this. Just to give you an overview of 24 hours in my day, using M&Ms to visually represent it, we have brown, which is sleep, my regular routines, commute times, work, which is really hard to define right now, editing, which is the most popular block of time, and personal life. Where does this even go? I don't even know. We'll put it at lunch. I didn't draw a line under 12, I'm just realizing now. Hold on, let's correct that. Chaos in the M&Ms. I'm missing an M&M, so we're just gonna claim that this is personal time in the middle of the day, and then we'll figure this out. Well, it depends on the day, who knows. It's pretty straightforward, really, when you look at it like this. You've got your 7-ish hours of sleep. Ideally, I'd be getting 8. I mean, I'd love to get 9, but I've discovered with this new routine that as long as I'm getting about 7 hours of sleep, I actually feel pretty darn good. I forgot to say that the part about what I wasn't super honest about in the past was that I said, oh, if I get 8 hours of sleep, that'd be great, but ideally 7, which is true. I was getting like 5 hours of sleep through that entire period of my life. So all of this, even if this feels a little bit busy, to me feels super manageable. Like I'm actually getting a minimum of 7 hours of sleep a night, with exceptions. Generally speaking, I'm prioritizing sleep, and it's amazing. My morning routine, which I just made a more specific video about recently, pretty intense, but I get a lot done and I feel very accomplished in the morning having, completed it. That includes getting up, getting to the gym, running, feeding and training the dog, feeding myself, getting some reading done, practicing my piano, and hopefully with enough time to dive into emails and Slack for a minute. If not, I can always do that from the road or during work time later. Commute time is yellow. Unfortunately, commute time ends up stacking up quite a bit, going all over Paris. If I'm just going out and back, it's a minimum 30 minutes one way. And it's one of the major reasons that I really want to move out of the neighborhood that I'm in, because I'm just really far from my friends and the majority of things that I love about Paris. Green is really hard to define exactly, because green is everything from like filming, going to places, trying places, taking photos, working on my guide, meetings, just trying to find time to think, to develop. There's a lot that falls into that, right? And work doesn't even include the edit later, which is red. It's funny, when I watch this old video, it's true. I look at it and it was about 2 hours, probably on average, of editing time, maybe a little bit more, maybe 3. But right now, minimum, it's gonna be about 3 hours of editing. I've been putting in 3 to 4 hours of editing, which is why I've got this guy in here. The funny thing is that this guy can often end up going on a commute. Like, I do tend to edit while I'm out and about. So I've got a bit of editing that slips in somewhere in here during the day, because I just take my computer with me and I make sure to get some editing done on the road if I can. It doesn't happen every day, but it makes the evening load significantly lighter. In a dream world, I would actually be getting done at like 7 o'clock so that I'd have a little bit of personal time in the evening to cool down. So all of this kind of just shifts up. The irony being that also, like, my social time ends up wrapping into work a lot. That's, you see my friends when I'm filming. And so there's a lot of overlap there. It makes the personal time kind of tricky to put exactly where it flows. And then on sleep, I am getting at least like the last few nights I've only gotten about 6 hours of sleep. Travel doesn't help with that sometimes, but neither does going out later in the evening to like a show with Paul. So this all kind of does shift around, obviously. I'm not a creature of total habit. And I'm also a fairly spontaneous person, I've realized recently. The real question for me, at least what I think is most interesting, is how do I continue to carve out this space a little bit more definitively? I wrote down a list of like all the other stuff that doesn't fit. I have a bunch of hours that get taken up either every other week or every week. Like I have coaching every week, therapy every other week. I was doing physical therapy every other week, but I kind of stopped doing that and I need to go back to it. Piano lessons roughly every other week, grocery shopping every week. Obviously, you have housework, going on podcasts. I just went on a podcast this evening. I'll be sure to link to that when it comes out. And then I've got one-on-ones and team meetings every week. So that's like a good 3 hours of meetings. Plus, Emily and I have a check-in every morning at about 10 in the morning, which can be as simple as a couple of texts, but is usually a 5 to 20 minute phone call. So my week has a smattering of things going on, and my days often tend to fill up pretty quickly. I also spent most of today working on itineraries. This is part of the reason why I really want to get on top of my schedule right now, because I have a lot of stuff going on, and I fell behind a couple weeks ago on a number of things that I want to stay ahead of. Itineraries is one of those. I've been making some bespoke itineraries for folks. If you're interested, you can go to parisinmypocket.com/plan. Check that out. But making those itineraries is actually really time intensive. It took a solid few hours just to put the finishing touches on one of those, and we've already been working on it for a while. And then I'm behind on like the guide updates. Like I've got a bunch of photos that I've taken, but I haven't uploaded yet. I've tried to add the new places that I've found. I'm a little bit behind on that, but I have removed places that I know for sure are closed. So at least as far as I know, my guide won't be sending you to anywhere that's closed. Just a quick reminder, my guide's not a PDF anymore. It's a dynamic experience at parisinmypocket.com/guide. Once you have access, you've got access for life. Pretty great. The reason that it's important for me to get a handle on this is because one of the things that I haven't been doing that I really want to do is write. Like, there's not a lot of time in here for me to spend writing. I can make time in my morning routine, but my morning routine already feels pretty full, and it's amazing how quickly time just vanishes between like taking an extra 10 minutes to get ready and walking the dog for an extra 5 minutes or playing with the dog for an extra 15 minutes. All of a sudden, you're way farther into the day than you realized. The thing that I'm gonna do from here is make sure to slot in a little bit more planning time, where I just sit down, look at my schedule, look at what I need to get done that week, and then slot it in. There'll be a bigger planning session at the beginning of the week to make sure that I dedicate hours to itineraries, to my guide, to the big things that really need to get done to make sure that I'm still providing the most value I can for you. But if I get ahead of myself and I don't have any work to do in those slots, then I can reward myself by writing. I need to like motivate myself by promising myself I get to write. I need to stop eating M&Ms. They're just right here and they're so tempting. The other side of it, I've lost sight of my North Star a little bit. What I really want more than anything is to make movies of my fiction, full feature-length movies out of the books that I've written that I need to rewrite. There's a lot of work to do, and it's not gonna get done if I'm not setting time aside for my writing. It's what I was doing when I came here to Paris originally, when I made this silly schedule the first time. It was the initial thing on my visa application, right? I'm a writer, and yet here I am, having written next to nothing for maybe 4 years. Have I really written nothing in, wow, 3 or 4 years? That's bad. That's really bad. So getting on top of my schedule is actually really important because time is ticking by. Like life is short and I have a lot that I want to get done in the time that I'm given. Spending time with Natasha was really helpful because she's a writer and she was encouraging me to follow my heart on this issue very specifically because I've really put these things off. There are some books that I'm very excited to write. I have a roadmap ahead of me of how I believe writing, YouTube, the Paris stuff, all of it comes together to make it possible for me to make these movies in the future and to make them the way that I want to. That's something that I haven't been very forthcoming with because I'm scared. I'm actually very scared to share all of this with you, believe it or not. And that's what makes it so challenging, but I need to because they are my dreams and I only get one life and I need to try. Even if I don't get anywhere near succeeding at them, if I don't try, I won't be able to live with that. And I think that the focus on YouTube for me has been partially because I'm very passionate about it. I love making videos, I love sharing my life, but it's also partially been because it's the only really viable path forward that I see. I'm very into this because I think I have a way to my future, but we have to wait and find out. And there's no way of knowing if we're even making progress if I'm not sticking to my plan and if I'm not telling you what that plan is. So Jeff, I hope you enjoyed this. As far as what my plan is, where I'm going, how I want to get there, we will dive into that. You can mark that on Jay's bingo as far as like things we almost talked about but didn't talk about in a video. But this is how I'm laying out my schedule right now. It's been pretty good. I generally like it. I'm actually, even though it looks very full, and it is very full, I'm very lucky to do what I do for a living because I can bring friends along for whatever fun things I'm doing for work. I do have a lot of opportunities to catch up with them. So I do get some social time. And in the mornings, I get to focus on myself, my health, my education, learning piano, all those kinds of things. There's a lot of good personal development that can happen first thing in the morning so that I can focus the rest of my day on work. As long as I'm getting good sleep, good nutrition, exercising, and spending time with my friends, I believe that I have a cocktail for a very healthy life. And that's what ultimately prevents me from barreling towards burnout. But the next step then is, how do I simplify what I'm doing to only a few things? Like, I've cut so many projects, we are going to continue to prune those down. How do we get it to like the main things that really move the needle so that I can take some of that extra time and put it into things like writing, prep, like getting ready for books and movies in the future? Because it's going to take a lot of work to get there. And the time isn't going to make itself. I've only got 24 hours in the day, just like I did back when I made this video the first time. And I need to use them as wisely as I can. And thankfully, thanks to you and my patrons, thanks to today's patron producer, Rod Tussing, and everybody that's ever bought a guide, and everybody that's ever decided to sit through an ad without clicking past it, and everyone that's ever given me a super thanks in chat, a tip on Ko-fi, or whatever it is you've done. So many of you have been so generous, thrown some money in the hat over the course of this journey, or purchased something that I've offered along the way, that you've made a massive difference to get me to where I am. Like, the road from where I was when I made the first version of this video to today is wild, and I'm so grateful for it. And I don't want to squander that. You've given me so much. I need to stop being scared. I need to live in the abundance of now and believe in an even more abundant future, which sounds very woo for me, but it's true. It's what I'm into. It's where I need to go. And now I shall eat my sleep. Tasty slumber.